Good evening, and apologies for previous technical difficulties. This is part 2 of the Royal Elysium scene.
Yeah. As we ended the previous scene, Camilla had approached the throne, flourished, and dipped into a kneeling bow with the cane in front of her. Queen Selena would recognise the cane. She knows that it conceals something inside. Something sharp.
The Queen would smile and nod to Camilla, saying, "Camilla, darling, I'm glad you could attend this evening." And she would look at the cane and just raise an eyebrow.
Camilla stands when she's permitted to, and she indicates with her hand towards the tauredo primogen and her child. Ariana goes into a low sort of curtsy, sort of flourishing the skirt around her ankles. And Camilla sort of, when she's saying what she's about to say, she does indicate to the tauredo primogen, who nods with approval, I presume, I hope.
Callisto is just watching the proceedings with an arrogant expression. She would just look Camilla up and down and kind of shrug non-committally as Camilla looks to her. The Queen, however, would glance in Ariana's direction, and her nose would wrinkle slightly in an expression of slight distaste, but she would say nothing.
My Queen, I would like to present myself forward to be given the great honour of serving as your seneschal. As I was the student of the former prince, I would like to use his teachings for the best effect in service of the city and to the Camarilla.
The Queen nods once more. Of course, Camilla. Thank you for putting yourself forward. You shall, of course, be seriously considered.
She bows again, and she will move away from the throne. Sort of she doesn't turn her back on the Queen. She walks backwards.
Lorne goes near the tauredo primogen and he looks at her face. Is she angry?
She just looks unimpressed by everything.
He nods to her again. We'll continue watching the proceedings.
Callisto would kind of look him up and down in her usual unimpressed fashion. As far as she's concerned, if someone is not an artist themselves, accomplished artist at that, then they cannot be classed as true tauredo.
She can go fuck herself, but the cornerstone isn't still. Lorne doesn't say it to his face. He smiles.
I admire your forwardness, Amachan.
He smiles and, he's judging everybody, criticizing everything, but
They make the perfect couple.
Exactly, and he continued watching the proceedings.
Camilla comes, when she's finished with the Queen, speaking to the Queen, she comes up to her child, near where Lorne and near where Lorne and Callisto are, and she will tap Ariane on the arm and lead her away. For the moment, because it seems that Ariana's presence is displeasing the Queen. For whatever reason. And they leave because Lisa needs to go to bed. Like this.
You are arriving towards them, like Lorne was looking at you. It's not like he's staring at you, but like he is looking.
She looks at him back, but doesn't seem to. It's kind of one of those looks that says, Do you have something to say? But then, like, it's like kind of like a quiet look. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Where you like look
I
at someone and
know.
you've got something to say, but
I
then
know.
doesn't
And
say anything.
and he doesn't shrug. He doesn't cut his look. He just continue looking. And when you take Ariana, he will look towards Queen.
The Queen just watches them leave. She seems quite satisfied that Ariana is being taken away, basically. She wouldn't hide her dislike for that particular member of her clan. And she would turn back to the gathered kindred and just look to see if there was anyone else that had anything to say.
Garnet will walk up to her, nodding at his primogen, smiling as he bows very low again. Well, if everyone else is making an offer, I might as well make an offer as well, my queen, to serve you faithfully as always, even though I am only here a young time. You've heard of my exploits, so I thought I would present my... As he just bows incredibly low, almost to the floor nearly, with just a bright smile.
The Queen would nod and then get an almost mischievous look on her face for a moment that is seen on her from time to time, and to say, and what exactly is it that you're offering?
Well, if you need me to be your second, I will gladly do so in most honorable position. I am just happy to help in any way you need see me fit. As he just smiles again.
Well, I shall certainly bear that in mind.
Thank you, my queen. As always, your wisdom is truly something to be admired. As he bows low again, backing away, but locking eyes with her with this mischievous smile as he turns abruptly then and plonks down beside his primogen with a little happy grin on his face.
Lorchina will rise and move towards the Queen, curtsy. Rather than putting my own name into the ring, as it were, please allow me to lend my voice in support of the slightly more diffident application of my clanmate, whose application to you for the post at Seneschal I most wholeheartedly support.
The Queen nods. I shall take that into consideration. And Dulcina, I shall wish to speak with you privately at some point soon.
I am as always at your convenience.
Coming down from his balcony position, watching all the proceedings, Alexander Fable takes another long drink of the spiked alcoholic vitae, wipes it away from his mouth and sighs. While the presentations are being put towards the Queen, he shuffles to the seat behind Laura and, almost as a whisper, leaning towards her, now see all the ambitious clamoring over each other for the Queen. You'll put yourself in
Just out of character, you missed that. Laura has already put her name forward.
Yeah, I know. I was watching the scene.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry. But now, my dear, you have put yourself on the firing rank. The Ventru will all stand behind one of their own and are now forced to support you. I'm not sure if your move was madness or brilliance. I'm hoping it was the latter.
Well, I do have a certain amount of experience in that. Both matters, but the Queen will make her decision.
The difference
will, and I do not believe I am the front runner to this position.
Deeds go a long way more than words, and having clans stand behind you is something. See how the Malkavians rally behind one another. That gives bigger sway to a Queen's decision than pretty looks or painted gifts. essential is the most unthankless task. I would not envy you if I did not find it so impressive.
Well, I like a challenge. She just smiles. Just looks at you. However, regardless of title of my job, did you hear that? There are infernalists here. She just looks at him. This should be a concern for us, and we should, all of us, look very much into this as fast as possible to make sure that this is not spreading anywhere.
My dear, the occult has always had a resurgence. The last time was under Queen Victoria. You always have infernalists and other such layabouts running around. My concern is that a high-status member, Tremere Regent, has been killed in the middle of Elysium, right before the eyes of the assembled kindred. I'm going to have to pull quite a lot of spin to make sure Vienna doesn't take umbrage to this.
Well, depending on what he was dabbling in, I suppose it's understandable.
How far away from the Queen are they sitting?
Yeah, because this could actually be relevant to Vincent as well.
Oh yes, certainly. Please roll perception alertness, and I will. I'd say a good 3 successes with all you need, because as he's just whispering behind her.
I got 2, but I don't know if the Queen is close where he is.
You could probably tell that the two venture were talking.
Oh God!
Wow! The majority of that roll was 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's worse than the roll I had.
If she just rolled a few failures as well.
Yeah, thank God you failed, not botched. Jesus.
I would have said to Botch and say, did they just call me fat?
Yeah, the Queen doesn't hear shit.
Okay, well, while this is going on, there is, and he sees the Ventru whispering ever so conspiratorially. He heard a bit of a hubbub, something, presumably someone dying because there was some great giant cut slash sort of thing. An explosion of the body, if you will. There is now a man with his top hat off with a cane, which, like Camilla's, holds something sharp in it, but also something a bit more than sharp. As he enters the room, and all behold, the Tremere who just missed his regent's death. How does everyone react to that?
Averted gaze. Try not to look you in the eye.
Kind of a raised eyebrow mixed with this popcorn eating expression, oh, this is going to be glorious.
The Queen glances up as he enters and just looks at him with a mild expression, as though she's quite interested to see what he's going to say.
He will walk more or less directly up to the prince. As he passes by everyone, he's kind of and even if he passes him by close enough to give him a handshake, he will. But it's kind of a very brief thing, as in, oh yes, good to see you, and walks more or less directly to the Queen. And we'll just say, and with a bow, with a sweeping gesture with his top hat, the hand that his top hat was in, he actually flattens it even. It's one of those flattening hats. And to say, my Queen, an absolute honor to see you as always.
Mr. Hardcastle, a pleasure. Unfortunately, I cannot say that it was the same for all members of your clan this evening.
Oh my word, whatever happened?
when I find out that members of my court are indulging in infernalism, I do not take kindly to it, as I'm sure you will understand.
There is a slight dilation of the pupils. They kind of retract and then have back into place. It's almost like mild alarm when he hits the word infernalism. Well, it's something that presumably no one here likes. And let's see. I see. Who would be this guilty party?
Your regent.
There's a moment of consideration. Like, it doesn't even necessarily cause surprise as it does analysis. You almost see he literally puts one of his hands up to his chin to cover his, well, not cover his mouth. But, you know, it's almost like he's navel gazing for a moment, like he's thinking really hard on something. So I see. And it's most disconcerting. I'll have to inform Vienna about this instance. I will not be pleased.
I have already spoken with them. They are sending someone immediately to help deal with the situation. I'm assuming that you knew nothing of your former regent's pastimes?
No, but this is most certainly cause for more serious scrutiny in the future. I thank you for informing my clan superiors and meting out justice upon this traitor.
She would not. I shall not tolerate such behavior within my city.
And of course, I hope that you're aware that the loyal members of our clan have many, many means of tracking down such individuals should they become a blight upon this landscape that is this city.
I very much think they already have. I have offered a reward of vast proportions for anyone who can locate them and this nest they seem to have built and remove them from London once and for all.
Excellent. My particular aptitudes are towards such tracking of these evils.
Then I shall expect great things from you, Mr. Hardcastle.
Indeed, I would not have lived this long if I did not rise to the challenge. However, on perhaps brighter notes, I do come bearing a gift for your majesty.
Her face seems to brighten somewhat.
Yeah, the small bitch. He takes out a fairly large, something that still fits in the hand, but might perhaps, you kind of have to carry it with two. It's a small black box. He just unclips, the two clips, and opens it, and you see a very, very beautiful Resources 5 level necklace with a big red ruby in the middle, carved out to almost being some sort of oval shape, but it's almost like it's been tessellated together. But he'll just unclip. There's this tiny clip on it. He just moves, and it actually shows itself to just be a lid for a very ornate clockwork watch, multi-purpose.
She would take the box, and so the necklace is just the lid.
The necklace, where the ruby is, like it's definitely like still a thick ruby, it definitely functions as an incredibly ostentatious necklace, but has the added function of being a rather ornate-looking, quite literally of clockwork watch. It is not digital or electronic. You can even hear the ticking sound. But the ticking sound is interestingly silent when you close the lid. Almost seems like it's been designed with this purpose in mind. It's effectively quite a nice little complex little device, while at the same time looking very beautiful. And he will just say, "It has. This gift has been preserved using our clan's techniques, so that it may never lose its shine, much like its wearer."
Well, it is a marvelous gift. I thank you. And she's looking at the ruby specifically. People that saw her receive earlier gifts would have gathered the impression by now that the Queen likes shiny things. And she would just run a finger over it a couple of times, just admiring the light as it hits the various red hues of the ruby.
Because of the way it's carved, and because it's slightly, again, it looks like it's almost been, it's like slightly tessellated. It refracts in a very interesting way.
And she would smile up at him. I thank you. And would gesture to one of the staff and hand the box to him. Your gift is very much appreciated. I shall hope to speak with you soon regarding anything you can find with our current problem.
Yes, I shall discuss this matter with the sheriff for additional details. It is always an honor to serve my majesty. I thank you for your presence and this light discussion with me this evening. He will again bow.
And she would gesture that he is free to retake his seat.
A splendid evening. He will, He'll take a seat by, let's see. Oh man, Garnet's looking awfully lonely.
Join the Malcavs.
Good capital.
He's had many an interesting discussion of Markavians, as yes, this man with a flattened hat, who's since put his hat back into his coat. For the record, he looks exactly as he does in his overlay. Before he looked somewhat outdated, he looks positively Victorian right now. As he will just say to Garnet as he bows and shakes his hand enthusiastically.
My darling Hardcastle, are you wanting to sit with me?
You have your hat, good sir. Unfortunately, it is most rude to wear hats indoors, so I was not. I did not have the liberty to appropriate it inside.
Wow. I think everyone's been bucking the trend here anyway. But you can sit with us if you want. I'm sure the channel will keep you very, very entertained. As Garnet just slinks by almost like a snake, you know, just looping his arm around you, leading you towards the Malkavians.
I'm sure she shall.
Oh, she's quite capital, my darling. Don't you worry. As he just winks at Dochana.
Quite spiffing.
Wow, please do come and join us. I'm sure you can enliven our evenings a great deal.
Oh, it would be quite shameful of me if I were to not. Vincent Hardcastle of Clan Tremere at your service. He will bow, and if you select him, he will kiss your ring finger.
Dulcina will let him and drop a little curtsy. Dulcina, but I think you already know that.
Yes, our mutual friend Garnet here has informed me of your presence here.
Yes, don't mind me. I'm just here to watch the show.
She's a darling, Mr. Hardcastle. I believe your talks of industrialization will fascinate her to no end. He just seems to just edge you right into her almost.
Well, Dulcina, I must say, I have not had the pleasure of observing the show so far. If you would please do me the indulgence of catching me up. That is not catching Vincent Hardcastle up. He hears this one to make loud sounds.
Well, at this point, Laura will get up and she will go over to the Primogen and just bow very deeply, and she will just inquire. She will also, as my character, out of character, I have etiquette, will probably want to just report that she just put her name forward and apologize if this was
the Ventru Primogen would place a hand on her shoulder and say, not to worry. I had no intentions of stepping forward myself.
you do our plan so much on it already. I spoke out of turn perhaps, but I simply wanted to reassure our queen with, and she just looks a little to the side, obviously looking over in the direction of where the regent once was, with disloyalty that our clan would never dream of doing such a thing. And she has our full support.
He would smile at her and just lean in and kind of with a bit of a whisper, he would just say, well, our clan hasn't always been in the good graces of the Queen, so anything we can do to show her that we are her loyal supporters can only do us good. Your ambition is an asset to us. And
Thank you.
He would warmly kind of pat her shoulder.
She nods and gracefully just curtsies again and goes over near Alex once again and sits down and just looks at him just so you wouldn't put your own name forward. I'm that much I can tell, but what do you make of this essential being applied and a regent being, well, permanently taken from the position on one night? I've never really heard of such an eventful night in a museum.
Alexander will have a sideways glance at the Primogen. The two will exchange daggers to one another briefly before he shifts position, losing eye contact first. It certainly denotes a very interesting evening. I'm glad I came out. This will be talked about for years to come. I'm certainly fascinated with how everything is playing. I'm sure we all creatures as old as we are all taking our stock of the peerage. When prizes are put on the table, everyone starts to look for allies, for opportunities, and this is no different. Small slights and petty grievances all flare up. I suspect this will be a very interesting time in London.
Quite so. I hope to make the most of it and be involved in as many as possible. She smiles to him.
If you need an ally that perhaps can go places that an upstanding member of the clan cannot, then perhaps we shall talk.
You seem to be a verbal rouser and a flatterer. She smiles at him. Just,
I know which way the wind is blowing, and it's certainly not going to do me any good to back a wrong horse.
Well, I'm sure we can talk much of this later. She finds a glass and finds a new glass for Alex, and they will just have a little toast and drink. Ding! Ding!
While people are chatting amongst themselves, the Queen would just have gestured to one of the waiters and would have taken a glass. And she's just sitting back, her legs demurely crossed, and sipping her blooded champagne and watching how the members of her court interact with one another.
Probably nobody comes near Lauren because he's, not someone that who everybody likes. Not a lot of people knows about him, so he just watching everything.
Laura will actually, at some point when she's done with her drink, she will actually come over to Lauren and just say, "Good evening. I hope you've enjoyed the meeting."
I did. It was really good, except one part where he had a death. But if he's an infernalist, he's an infernalist.
Have you the Primogen Council is here, but not all of them, right?
Some of them here.
She just looks at him. So what do you make of this development? One being dead and one being fine.
I think that we will have a lot of colorful days in the future, and I believe that you will need allies to achieve what you want to achieve. The position of Seneschal is a great power, especially in London, one of the biggest cities on earth.
Yes, it is. But, well, I believe that challenges are made to overcome. And this is a big challenge for me, as it would be for most people. But I hope to prove my worth, and, well, obviously I want to support my queen, our queen, as best I can. I believe I am one of the people who could. But if she is more tempted to choose another to her liking, more to her liking, I'm will totally respect such a decision.
How
It is
modest.
her choice.
He smiles.
Well, she seems actually fairly genuine when she says that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like she's not overconfident. It's not like she has the demeanor of "I'm going to win." But take that for what it's worth. I mean,
Yeah, he smiles and he says, "Well, come to me when you want to win."
I'll keep that in mind.
Smiles. We're gonna have a huge climb in the coming years or months.
Or I will be foolish enough to do something very stupid, and she doesn't finish that, and she's just like very slightly looks over to the place on the ground. But I think that is quite unlikely. Why would anyone do such a thing?
Because sometimes kindred forget that the time is all we have.
Apparently so. But have a very good evening. And she will move on. She will actually go over to Mr. Whitecastle. You just curtsy and just say, "Oh, I understand that you are, well, even though the situation is what it is, and, well, for what it's worth, I would," and she just comes in closer, just bows to him, and just, "Sorry for the loss you have taken. Brighter days for your plans ahead, I'm sure."
There is a bit of initial. Well, I mean, he nods and takes it. Internally, he's thinking, "She's being nice to me. This is clearly a trick of some sort." I shall just say, "My thanks, but you need not make apologies for him. He was infernal scum and does not deserve to bear my clan, the pride of my clan's name, or the position that he once held."
Still, I'm not really apologizing for him. I am merely stating that given your strength of your blood, I could understand your loss, shall we say. She's clearly, what she's suggesting is that she feels more sorry for you, that you probably feel something missing, give or take, with certain things with the pyramid. But yeah. But he brushes us off, so it's fine.
Well,
Laura.
Well, I do thank you for the kind words.
She just bows her head again and nods and walks on.
As Dulcina and Garnet are over next to the Malkavian Primogen, he would turn to Garnet after Dulcina's quiet urging and say, "Providing my sire approves, you will have our support."
Darling, that is most wonderful. Bright smile. We are, after all,
William would just have an almost childlike grin on his face and would just nod rapidly. Our clan should definitely step up. I'm sure Arthur would agree.
I'm also sure he would agree.
Pardon my primogen with
Just out of character, that sounded really creepy and it was awesome.
yeah. You, my primogen. If my mother taught me anything, is that Malkavians are best left underestimated. He just gives this wicked smile.
The childlike grin would still be kind of plastered all over his face, and he'd be nodding rapidly, but his attention kind of keeps drifting, as if he's thinking about something.
I should speak to the prince while it's still in your memory, and while the moment is still ripe for such an approval. Then we can turn our mind to happier things.
He would look to Dulcina, and his nodding would pick up pace even more, and he would say, "Yes, of course. I'm sorry. I'm somewhat preoccupied. Book I'm writing, you see," which would probably lead him into a 2 or 3 minute rant telling you all about the latest fantasy novel that he was writing. But before he got too carried away with it, he would kind of stop himself and say, I apologize. I shall go and yes, of course. Yeah, carry on. And he just shambles off and goes up and speaks quietly with the Queen.
Result.
Alexander will begin making his rounds of the room, heading up to Mr. Hardcastle, taking out a hand and shaking him firmly. Vincent, you old sot. So how's the Chew Baker project coming?
Alexander. Yes. Yes, it is coming along quite well. Indeed. We plan to release our next development before the end of the quarter.
That's fantastic news, because in fairness, the party's not doing too well with the whole Corbyn thing, and with Theresa May suddenly rising to the top, things are looking a little bit shaky on the political path. But let me tell you, if you and yours decide to invest in some of the key players I've put out, they will make sure to put bills through Parliament floor that will be able to, let's just say, grease the wheels for you, my friend. Things have gone a bit slow because of Brexit, but in the end, that's going to be new opportunities as old markets are starting to withdraw, means there's spaces for new markets to come in.
Yes, and there is a renewed sense of patriotism these days. I'm sure that with the current climate, our new endeavours will be appreciated by the populace.
Perhaps it will be a return to the good old days. I would like to see London become the golden city it once was. So could I count on your support, perhaps? If obviously in less social environments we can hash out the nitty-gritty. But your contacts have always been most welcome at the galas of the rich and powerful, of course.
Indeed. Well, both of us very much paved our way. Yes, I'm sure we can come to an arrangement. If I'll have some time available in the coming nights, perhaps we can have a meeting then and, as you said, hash out the details.
If it's not too much trouble, I don't want to take you away from this. And he looks around conspiratorially. Most splendid gala. Only the Rose can surely throw quite a party.
Indeed. Well, it was a pleasure seeing you again, Alexander. You've always been a good and reliable friend and business partner of mine. I hope to see you again soon in the coming nights.
He'll take a very Ventrue-like bow. Mr. Hardcastle.
Mr. Fable.
Just out of curiosity, there are younger people present, right?
No, the Elysium is strictly elders.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Well, the Royal Elysium, yeah. They will be present at others.
Hey.
It's so they don't see all the horse trading and backstabbing that goes on in the Royal Elysiums.
Wow, you sound seriously like something out of a horror movie. It's awesome.
It's Nurgle, guys.
It's amazing.
If you do that on purpose, then wow, that's great. No, Laura will just make the rounds, and she will also say hi to Mr. or Lord Farage, and make sure that all the people she's met, she will just greet.
Whilst Lord Farage has been largely quiet for this little get-together, he's actually somewhat pleased that he's getting to see Lady Balstin again. Yes. He'd probably like twirls his handlebar moustache a little bit. Well, tonight has been certainly an eventful night, hasn't it?
Quite so. Fortunate for some, but
yes, fortunate for some, less fortunate for others.
Yeah.
And here I was half expecting this particular Elysium to be a rather dull affair.
well,
Not
justice must be met.
Not to say that that is a rather typical thing, but well, 5th of November, it's usually a very well, not traditionally a night for those of our generation to celebrate.
Well, it was that man who tried to blow up the Parliament building, yes?
Yes. First
Did you
man
see
to go
the
into
explanation?
Parliament with honest intentions. You
Well, there's a truth for the ages.
yes, never cared too much for politics personally. Would rather have gone out there and gone do things than talk about them.
Well, some would say that politics gets lots of things done, but it's just an arduous process.
Apples and oranges, I believe the expression is.
I quite agree. There is quite a difference between being on the battlefields and being in the tent planning how the battlefield will shape up.
Besides that, I do hope that the events of tonight have not given you a rather sour taste of what to expect in London.
No, it makes me feel quite at home, to be honest. She smiles.
And Farage smiles back. Well, this is a rather unusual night, I assure you.
Oh well. She takes that and just smiles, and she's obviously, maybe she's considering it for a second, but just
I'm going to penetrate to where you are.
nods.
Got it.
Someone else
Yes,
trying to
sorry.
speak?
Got it. Do you think we should get an old military sort of greatcoat and wander around Southwark shouting penny for the guy later tonight?
With that voice, my dear, Most assuredly. Thinks at her as he'll just stride around making his rounds, being all sociable and polite and mannerly, and probably stop by Lauren and give him a wink as well.
What he's doing?
He'll smile brightly at Lauren, and
He will raise his hands and wave.
he'll grasp it very firmly and like slink his mantis-like form down beside him. Then, the silent one in the corner.
I'm always the silent one in the corner.
Wow. How are you finding this beautiful gallery so far?
I always love the gallery. The things happen inside the gallery. Well, it will affect the months to come.
Yes, it shall be most interesting watching the kittens play with their knitting balls. Kind of just slants back like this on the seat.
I saw your clan sports you.
Surprising, but then again, me Malks always like to buck the trend.
See, is there anybody near you at the moment?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I think Lorne was off to one
Yeah.
side on his own, wasn't he? So they're pretty separated from the rest of the group, I think.
Lone doesn't care if he's hurt or not, but he was just gonna. I wanted to know if there's any PC or someone there. He looks at Garnett and says, "So, you want to be a seneschal?"
Perhaps. Do you want to be a seneschal, Lorne?
No.
Perhaps I do, perhaps I don't. If I get elected, perfect. If the Queen decides to elect someone better than myself, well then, who knows? But he just has this little arrogant smile about him.
He kind of like gives him a look of like a nod, and like he questions what you said, and then he says, "Who do you think would be a good keeper?"
Maybe that venture kitten, the one that's going around making sure everyone's drinks are filled. She is quite diligent in her efforts. She knows how to make sure things are in order. That would be my suggestion anyway. What about you? Who would you pick?
Kind of looks around. I have no idea at the moment. I don't know a lot of people yet, but it's always good to have a Tremere.
Mr. Hardcastle's industrialization could add a new factor to Elysium.
Industrialization died 10 years ago. He kind of smiles.
Kind of smiles as well. It was more like the joke.
Do you know what is the like how I think the seneschal's job? But do you know what I think about what is the seneschal's job?
Enlighten me.
I think that job means that you get to solve little problems. How would you force your, let's say, kind of looks at it like thinks himself. How would you force your title?
Well, that is the question. If I made seneschal, how would I title? I mean, most seneschals do it one way, but after all, I think I've proven that I don't do things quite conventionally.
Yeah, bringing your horse to Elysium is quite bold. The Harpies is going to have a field day about you.
They may speak what they like, but I'm a simple man. I breed my horses, and well, no point giving a gift that I don't understand. I know animals. Our queen loves our animals, so I just smiles wickedly.
I like the horses as well.
Well, maybe you can come riding and I can teach you a few more things.
He nods. I already promised you to visit you in the breeding ground.
As I said, anticipation is almost quaking. As he just glides up and grips your hands quite firmly.
And he says, "Well, you said that you're not sure about to become, if you're queen, if the queen wants to choose you or not. Just come to me when you want to be sure about being Seneschal." Kind of smiles to him.
Darling, as he leans right in, I'm always sure. I'm just gauging your reaction. As he just kisses him very gently on the cheek and just breezes away, almost with this cold arrogance.
Hmm. He doesn't do anything when you kiss him on the cheek. He watches you leave.
Yeah, and Garnet will return to his Malkavian people.
Don't I get to kiss them?
Sorry, Dolchana. You have to earn my affection yet. As he skips by her, almost like coiling away masterfully.
Vincent looks on in great interest as Markavian just shut another Markavian down hardcore, and he seems to enjoy that.
Dottie just smiles. Really? I wonder what the two of you had to discuss that earned your affection so visibly. I'll have to work harder.
Maybe a new dress. That one is quite verbose in its style.
It has certain memories attached to it.
Oh, I'm sure, my darling. This Garnet just seems to enjoy this little tease he's doing for Dolchana.
She doesn't seem to take it personally. She knows what Garnet's like.
As people are chatting, the Queen finishes the champagne from the flute that she has and just hands it to one of her lackeys that scurries up and takes it. And she puts her hands together and kind of leans forward and says, "Lord Farage, I believe you promised a display of your talents, did you not?"
Of course, Your Majesty. Would you prefer the bell tower, or has the all of the gifts tonight been to your satisfaction?
They have. The bell tower shall suffice.
Very well.
And a trickier target also, I do believe. Unless you feel that you are not up to such a challenge. And she smiles at him playfully.
And Lord Farage just simply smiles back. Trickier for most, but I am not most. And then he'll turn to one of the tables. He'll probably select one which has less stuff to clear it. And he'll intentionally clear his throat to get the attention of presumably the ghoul waiters and whatnot. And he'll at first gesture for them to clear the table. And if they don't get the impression, he'll verbally repeat it. He won't be a bully about it, or impatient for that matter. But as soon as they've cleared the table for him, he'll place the case which he brought in with him. He'll flick the combination, flick the case up, and inside is this it looks to be a disassembled rifle, which he slowly and very carefully, systematically starts assembling, rather expertly. Everything clicks into place, and he places. It looks to be a single-shot rifle of some description, which is why he only takes one of the rather large-looking bullets, or at least large from the perspective of anyone who's not too familiar with firearms. He simply loads it into loads it into the weapon. Looks to be rather a somewhat archaic design, but it's rather elegant in the way it's overall constructed. You know, there's even some like custom finish to the wood of it. Well, this is the Farquharson. There's about 19 of these in the world, I believe. 450 Nitro Express. Well, Your Majesty, my elephant gun is loaded and is ready to go off. Shall we go to the balcony?
She would nod and step down from the stage. The huge guy that's been standing behind the throne would move in kind of right behind her and follow her wherever she went. And she would allow Lord Farage to lead the way.
Yes. Lord Farage, when he's actually holding the weapon, he doesn't hold it on the trigger because, you know, that's common sense for anyone who actually knows how to use firearms. And he also keeps the the business end pointed to the ceiling, so in the event that the worst does happen, you know. And you know, he smiles as the Queen, you know, goes to the balcony with him. And you notice when he gets onto the balcony, at first he spots like the bell tower, like a fair distance away, but then it looks like he's listening. And this being bonfire night, I'm presuming that there are still some people setting off fireworks.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and he listens, and then he starts taking aim at the thing, and he takes his time with this. Keeps his eyes just on the target. He starts trying to time something, and basically what he's trying to do is he's trying to sink his shot onto that bell tower, so that the resulting gunshot will, you know, become masked by the fireworks explosion. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Okie dokes. This will be Dex plus firearms plus any bonus from celerity. If you just aim for a single turn, you can gain bonus die up to your limit of your perception. So basically, I'm just going to go with that all the way, if that's okay.
Yep, go for it.
All right, this is a shit ton of dice, let's just say, and with the certain merit. Well, this is going to be interesting. Unless he fucks it up. Which he won't with a roll like that.
Wow.
Even
Okay.
Yes. So, yes.
That shot is fucking artistic.
There is no bell tower anymore, basically.
There is no what, sorry?
There is no target anymore after that shot like that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Assuming a specialty.
Yes.
8, 9,
Marks
10, 11, 12, 13 successes. 13.
So.
One for every clan.
Every clan. Oh, that's prophetic.
So yeah, he makes a perfect shot. You can describe exactly how he does it.
Marvelously. He basically, you notice that he doesn't take his eye off of the target for, it seems like, 5 whole seconds. And anyone who's actually paying attention to him realizes that he is deathly still. Until that moment where he pulls the trigger and there's this which seems to coincide with one of the more larger explosions from the fireworks going off outside. And about a mile away, some bell tower is getting fucked up.
The Queen would grin and kind of clap her hands as the shot is successfully carried out, and say, "Why, my lord, your skill may even surpass that of your sire. I'm very impressed.
And Lord Farage, he naturally takes the rifle and holds it by his side and gives a rather courteous bow to the Queen. Thank you, Your Majesty.
Old chap, good show. That might just be the single best shot I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yes. I rather do better with moving targets, in all honesty.
He seems to stealth into the distance where the shot ran out. Like he has his hand over his forehead. Almost seems to. He even uses his sight to look further into the distance to see the fantastic remnants for display. As he just says, "Oh my, yes. I'm sure you could make quite a career out of that, indeed."
One has to wonder what the poor bell did to deserve that.
It got in, well, the Queen selected the bell tower out of all of the other things that were here tonight. I mean, I could have turned the Farquharson's attention on, and he looks over towards the picture which Arthur brought in. But I don't wish to upset our gracious host and Queen. Besides,
I'm sure you'll contribute generously to the Bell Repair Fund.
The Queen looks to Dulcina and says, "Dulcina, darling, would you have preferred that I had perhaps named you as target?"
Well, if you're in the habit of destroying beautiful things, but I was merely thinking perhaps that while it was an excellent display of marksmanship, perhaps maybe a pigeon or something less expensive would have served the purpose just as well. Of course, I'm not questioning your wisdom in the matter. I understand the feat was a repetition of a famous one already made previously.
Indeed. And the Queen would just nod to all those who were gathered on the balcony and then turn and make her way back inside the main room
and
with her big chap following her.
Yes, and Lord Farage would have stepped in with her. To be fair, Your Majesty, she does bring up a good point. Though I would have not preferred a pigeon. There's no thrill in killing a defenseless animal. Well, not an animal that cannot adequately defend itself.
I think the display was more than adequate, she says as she's walking away.
A famous feat, now repeated, perhaps even more impressively than it was the first time. I must say I agree with Her Majesty.
And Lord Farage, simply smiles and nods as he heads over back to the case before he starts disassembling the rifle and placing it back into the case.
If Lord Farage prefers, perhaps we should put a petition in the London Planning Commission to make a bell tower a little further away for next year.
Perhaps. Alternative, we could always find a different target. Like these infernalists. What exactly? Well, I don't wish to sour the mood. What exactly do we know about them? well, beyond the obvious.
Lord Farage, this is a place of celebration ceremony. I am perfectly sure, he says, sort of stepping slightly on the ashen remains of the Tremere Regent, that the sheriff and his men have surely questioned all perpetrators quite thoroughly. I'm sure there will be information given to the hounds in due course.
The Queen would nod. The sheriff will give out all information that we have so far received to any that display an interest in helping to solve this problem.
Then forgive my impatience.
It is impressive that you wish to aid in this matter, Lord Farage.
I do only which my sheriff orders me to. My talents would be wasted otherwise.
And the Queen kind of looks to her right, and then kind of sees the empty chair rather than her seneschal sitting there, and it's almost like she realizes that there isn't anyone to make her announcements at present. She frowns a little at that, and then just says, "Are there any other matters that anyone wishes to bring before me before I close this evening?"
Only to thank you for a splendid evening, my queen, and the sincerest hope that perhaps we may discuss these turbulent times ahead of us once the festivities have ended, he says with a small and gracious bow, smiling all the while.
Of course, Mr. Fable. And she would look around the rest of the gathering.
Vince will simply shake his head and bow and say, "Likewise with my good friend, Mr. Fable here. There's nothing else I need to would dare suggest I require of you at present. Thank you for this fine, fine evening. A splendid Elysium it has been."
She would dip her head slightly and say, "If anyone should acquire any information pertaining to the location or capture of our current problem, please bring it to me directly. I shall expect to be kept abreast of all proceedings. And with that, I bid you all a good evening." And she would just rise and step down from the stage with her big guy behind her as always, and make her way out without saying another word to anyone.
And with that, I think we're good to end our scene.
Yep.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And good evening.